I want Taylor to tell us the story of Job.
Oh, Taylor, that was lost. It's lost footage, really. So, and it was ruined anyway by my internet connection. So,
Okay.
um,
You have to like bring up like a moral quandary, Kyle, that would be answered by Job. I can't. This is like think of
none of
these
them.
stories like Magic School Bus. Mrs. Frizz never went out there and was like, "We're gonna learn about the fucking digestive system." It was always because that little fucker with the red hair was like, "I got an upset tummy," so they had to
Yeah.
shrink up and go inside. I need
Right.
a direction, you know.
Like,
Say
I
something.
guess maybe it would be a good one to tell someone where you need to keep believing and stick in there because it's the right thing to do sometimes. Not maybe like
Never
maybe if you're
give
describing
up.
work ethic. If you're talking about work ethic, maybe like it's not about this, it's not about that. It's about it being the right thing to do, and you just do it because it's there to be done, and it needs doing. I don't
Okay.
know because the story of Job is awful. It's so
Yeah.
awful.
I was trying to think of just any, like, that's how bad this story is in the Bible. Like, you take any other parable, and you can be like, oh, the fish and the, fucking bread that he fed everybody with. That shows that he gave everybody a bunch of food. It's a good moral. If you got food, give it to people. Help them out. You can even pull something out of that. With Job, you have to sit there and think, like, maybe he was, no, because he gets, no, oh, God damn. So basically, Job, the story of Job is, if you read through the Bible and you've made it to Job and you're still somehow a Christian, like, Job's gonna fucking do you in. Like, you're not gonna... So basically, Job starts out very Game of Thronesy, where everything's being built up. Like, wow, what could go wrong here? Ned's got a handle on this whole thing. So Job was the best guy in the whole world. And God knew this. And everybody on Job's block knew that God thought that Job was the best. So there's a little bit of resentment right there right away. Everybody knows that Job is God's favorite.
But he
and so
earned
the
it.
devil, who apparently can just, quaffly drift into wherever Jesus currently is, Jesus/God, one and the same. That's in later chapters. I didn't mean to spoil it. But
Don't forget the Holy Ghost.
so
yeah, there's another one in there.
the Trinity.
One and a half. Well, half of one.
So Job basically
Good label.
living his life, doing the best he can. Satan goes up to God and says, "Hey, that Job guy, he really loves you, but he's got like 12 kids. He's got a dope house. He's got more crops than he needs. He's got a bunch of animals. He only likes you because you gave him all that shit." And God was like, "That's not true. That's horse shit. And I know that's not true because I'm God. Like, I know this. But anyway," God goes, "Okay, I'll indulge you, Satan." God often makes a game of indulging Satan at the expense of those he loves most.
What a
It's just
great guy,
something
by the
about
way.
God. And Satan goes, "Okay." And so Satan goes and he starts making Job's life as fucking terrible as possible. Starts out, what did he do first? I think boils might have been the first one. So basically, he
The
goes-
crops die. The
Yes,
all of his
the
animals
business-
die, and you gotta. It's not like his like 3 pigs died. Like herds and herds of
Yeah.
multiple kinds of, thousands of goats and hundreds of cattle.
Think
and,
of this
and,
like a factory farm. He was like a big time dude. He wasn't like, "Oh no, Tracy and Susan, my goats." Like, it was like they didn't have names. They were thousands of goats. All of his livestock just dies, which is basically like all the money you have gone, and a bunch of predators or whoever else is just eating rotting meat. He still is like, "You know what, God, that sucked, but I'm on your team. You're gonna get me through this." And so the devil goes back to God and he's like, "Can I try something else? I didn't go the angle I should have." And God's like, "Fine, you fuck. Like, just get this done. We don't have that many pages in this book to spend on this one dude." And so he goes back, gives Job's entire family boils, pustules all over their body, erupting willy-nilly, just nastiness. They can't sit and eat dinner together. It's disgusting. No one trusts any kind of food that's creamy or indistinct textures.
ruined couscous for me, Susan.
every-
God
no-
has done this to us.
Yeah. No more quinoa in Job's house after the boils hit. They all sit there, and Job's family isn't quite as hot on this as him. They're like, "God, this fucking sucks." And Job is still like, "Guys, we're sitting in a dope house. All the animals are dead, but we got food right now. God's on our side. So what if we're itchy for a few days? Satan goes back to God again, says, "This fucker actually, he's pretty tough. I got to hand it to you." And God's like, "I know. I literally saw this coming." And Satan's like, "All right, one more shot. And so he goes to Job's house. Job's out and about, taking care of things, taking care of business, needs
Probably
to
praying,
try and rebuild
doing
his
the Lord's
empire.
work.
I'm sorry.
He's probably doing the Lord's work out there. He's proselytizing or whatever you
Yep.
call it. You know, he's out there finding new followers.
Yeah.
To
Woke up
itching.
tender to the bone, and he's like, I just have to spread the love of the Lord. And so he's out there doing his thing. The rest of Joe's family is sleeping in. Like, this is fucking bullshit. God comes down, watches as Satan collapses the whole house on all of Job's children and his wives. I don't know. At least one. At least one wife, half a dozen to a dozen kids in there. Every one of them crushed to death. Crushed to death in Job's home amidst ashes and their boils. Just, you can still see, they can't even have an open casket funeral. And there's no land to bury them in because it's covered in shit and dead animals. And it's just horrific. And Job comes back, and it's almost like he sees it on the horizon. And he's like, oh, no. And he sprints over there, and he's, oh, no, Jesus, oh, God. And he tears his clothes, probably tearing a few of those, like, pustules off as well because he's so overtaken by grief. And he's just sitting in the burnt-out remains of his home, and he's just, rubbing soil and ash onto himself. And as this is happening, it pans up to heaven, and it shows God and Satan sitting there. And God goes, see...
Like,
I told you he wouldn't betray me. And
the devil goes, and the devil looks to God and says, well, you won again. Here you are. $1.
Brewster's Millions.
That's it. There's no redemption. There's no redemption at the end.
That's
like
it.
At the
End of the book.
day, God doesn't even step in and tell Job what happened. He didn't even step in and be like, hey, Job, it's been a lot of nonsense. Just to let you know, you were a pawn in my game, and we won, hooray. But... really sorry about that. He doesn't even step in. He doesn't even call back and let him know what happened. He just lets him live the rest of his shitty life in squalor. So he did win the bet. And if you can find some kind of moral in there, other than like don't trust deities, then I don't know.
Don't trust God, because he'll
God
sell
couldn't-
you out for a little street cred to the Lord of Darkness himself.
His whole family went to a better place.
I
in
am a
heaven.
better friend to you than that.
That's horrible. If I were to tell the people at fucking a
wouldn't sell you out
Tex-Mex
to
restaurant
Prince
that
of
it was your
Darkness.
birthday so we could get free dessert, I would feel bad about that, much less sabotaging your whole life to win a bet where nothing was wagered. Like, if you own everything in existence and you can summon things just by will, what could you possibly bet? Like, how could it be fun to bet if you already know the end game? I don't know, but it's an interesting story, and I probably got some of it right.
And I probably got some of it right.
That sounds all like factually exactly like the way I remember it from Sunday school. Like that's absolutely right. I remember the preacher talking about him. He specifically talked about being in the soot and the ashes and how he's rubbing that all over his body and the wailing, praying the whole time. Just, forgive me for whatever I've done to deserve this, Lord. That's his whole thing. The whole time that he's suffering. Terrible story. I can't find the moral there. I don't get it. It makes me feel real bad.
Perhaps my parents will call me and tell me
because
why
you know that-
it's good.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'd love to hear from them exactly what the story of Job has taught them in life. It's probably like, don't fuck with God. Your dad's like, don't gamble. Clearly, don't gamble ever. Not once. I don't know what.
I don't know.
Like,
I'm not getting the moral in this one.
There's something in there.
There's something. But
There's something.
If it is it's not really a moral lesson as much as it is like a warning of what is to come if you defy. No, he didn't even defy God. He did everything right.
No, I feel like
What's
the
it-
lesson is don't be unlucky.
yeah.
It's-
Don't be some overachiever who like
Yeah, don't stand out.
Don't stand
always
out.
Don't
get
succeed.
86